Hello and welcome to Crux Investor. We spoke earlier today to Alan Carter, who's the CEO of Cabral Gold, TSX-V gold explorer with assets in Brazil. And if you want to hear our views on that conversation, what they're doing, and indeed the company itself, you can find that at cruxinvestor.com/club. Where you can also find detailed company reports. There's market commentary from experts from around the world on a variety of commodities and companies. There are company summaries, just to save you a little bit of time. And of course, there's training videos and a thriving community of investors sharing their thoughts and ideas with each other. In fact, you can go there and join them now and sign up for cruxinvestor.com/club. Of course, we'd love your thoughts and ideas too. So do give us a like, leave your thoughts below. And if you want to see what we talked about, take a look in the description below. Alan, how are you doing, sir?
Very well, Matt. Nice to be here.
Where are you?
I'm in Vancouver. It's early morning here, so sun's just coming up.
Lovely. And you're back at the office, obviously.
Yes.
So yeah, I hear it's kind of, everyone's back to normal over there. Or trying, as normal as you can get.
Yeah, kind of normal, some sort of normal anyway.
Yeah, fantastic. Hey, well, look, we haven't spoken to you since, I think, beginning to mid of July. So I'm looking forward to getting this update from you. Look, judging by your share price, a lot of good things been going on. So, but before you do that, give us that 1 minute overview for people new to the story. Well, I'll pick it up from there.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. So Cabral Gold is a publicly listed company in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange. We have an advanced gold project in Brazil. And this part of Brazil where we're working was the site of the world's largest ever gold rush. Between 1978 and 1995, this region produced an estimated 20 to 30 million ounces of placer gold, and our key asset was the largest placer camp. So far, we've already got an initial resource of about 1 million ounces. We are targeting a much larger overall resource here of at least 5 to 10 million ounces, and it could be larger than that. It is a district. We do own it 100%. We have high-grade drill intercepts both within the two existing deposits that are not captured in the current resource estimate. And more importantly, we have 8 other high-grade target areas where we've done a little bit of drilling with very, very high-grade results. And we currently have a drill campaign going on, Matt. As you know, we've added a second rig, and there'll be lots of news coming out, drill results coming out for the next 6 months on at least 10 different targets. Okay, well, let's talk about that in a minute. So if things are going so well, why have you got a director selling off his shares, like all of his shares at the peak? Yeah, that's unfortunate. One of our directors has sold a little bit of stock. He had some options that were expiring. It's not part of a pattern. It's a one-off. I believe that was a mistake on the part of his broker, but it's a one-off. I don't expect that there'll be any more of that.
Well, are you selling any?
No. I mean, as you know, so far I've put in $1.7 million of my own money, which for me is a giant chunk of my net worth. So absolutely not. Please check my CDI statements. Okay. I mean, you say it's not part of a pattern. So have any other directors sold any shares during this kind of peak that you saw a couple of weeks ago? No, we're not. I'm not putting my interests ahead of my shareholders. And so that's not what we want to do. That's not the way we run a company. I believe this was a mistake. It's definitely not part of a pattern. You believe it was a mistake because you've spoken to him and he's told you it was a mistake, or you think Correct. It was a mistake that he decided to do Correct. That? That's what he told me. He said it was a mistake on the part of his broker. Okay. It doesn't scan well in the market, obviously. So I think, some people are, a little bit nervous about what that signals that sends. Yeah, absolutely. It doesn't. But I can only take him at his word. Unfortunately, I can't speak for him. So he told me it was a mistake and I believe him. Right. And the next thing that happened after we spoke, 3 dusters, 3 holes, first 3 holes, no good news. What happened? Matt, the first 3 holes of a drill program in a district this large makes no difference whatsoever. I mean, we already have, as I said, 2 deposits here. There's 8 other targets with a little bit of drilling. This first target we decided to test. We took a bit of a risk on it. No previous drilling. So we did not elect to set up. A lot of people in the junior mining business, when they first start drilling, they will set up the drill right next to a hole where they've got fantastic results. And as I said, we've got 8 other target areas where we've got fantastic results. So we could have done that. We chose not to. We stepped out 4 kilometers onto a brand new target, which has some fantastic high-grade boulders on it. We've drilled initial 15 holes into that target, which, by the way, is a giant target area. It's well over a kilometer east-west. We don't know where the structure is because it's unlike a lot of our other targets at Kuyu, the vein's not outcropping. And so we're trying to find the vein. We've got results pending on another 12 holes from that. It makes no difference whatsoever in the scheme of things. The first 3 holes on the first target of at least 10 different targets had no impact on the overall district potential. It doesn't change anything whatsoever.
So you walked into suspecting it was quite aggressive, quite bold.
It was aggressive, yeah.
Right, but you thought there may be a low chance of finding anything, but you wanted to understand what it could be, and it didn't work out.
Oh, we thought there were a good chance of finding something. Look, these boulders are averaging 91 grams a ton. They're huge, big boulders. They're like kilometers in size. And so we want to know where they're coming from, but there's no exposure here. There's thick soil cover. There's a lot of vegetation. We've got a magnetic feature there, what we think we're rated to, but the magnetic feature is several hundred meters wide. And we haven't found it in the first 3 holes. And I said, I asked my guys this very same question. I said, I'm going on with Matt on Monday. What do you guys think? Does this change anything whatsoever? And we're all unanimous of the opinion it changes nothing. 3 holes in a district this big. We have 36,000 hectares here, 3 holes into a brand new target. We just haven't found the structure yet. Results pending on a bunch more holes. And we'll see. This is exploration. Not all holes are going to hit.
Okay, so tell me this then. How much money did you waste doing that? And was that the smartest way to start the drill program?
I don't know how much money we wasted. I wouldn't look at it as wasted. This is exploration, This is exploration, Matt. So, not a massive amount of money. We're drilling at $25 a meter, including the analysis. So I don't know, 200 or 300 meters at $25. I mean, do the math on that. But this is exploration. Unfortunately, I cannot guarantee my investors and my shareholders that every hole is going to be a cracking hole. It's not. But look, let's get back to the basics here. We already have 2 gold deposits. Over 90% of the placer gold that was mined during the gold rush here, probably closer to 95%, is unexplained. It's not related to those 2 deposits. We've got 8 other areas, at least, with high-grade drilling intercepts on. This is a brand new area. We're drilling another one right now called Medusa, which again is a brand new area where big target area, 1.4 kilometers across, giant soil anomaly, great boulders averaging at over 20 grams a ton. But again, no outcropping veins, so a little bit higher risk. We took a decision, which I would suggest to you was quite bold, in that rather than set up 10 meters away from one of the existing drill holes where I could be very, very confident I'd get a cracking drill result that adds nothing to the overall project, rather than do that, we took a pretty bold decision to step out 4 kilometers and drill a brand new target where we don't know where the structure is yet. And so I still think we're going to find that, but 3 holes makes no difference whatsoever.
So, I mean, it comes back to that. I mean, I said to you before, are you a geologist or a businessman? Because, you got excited, you're getting excited and you want to drill things the right way as a geologist. But those 3 holes should have been terminal for you, but your share price has been scooting up. And on top of that, you've had to issue a statement saying no material change in business. So what's happening behind all of that?
Well, I think since we met, following our initial interview in July, I'm not sure about yourself, but I got quite a lot of good feedback on that. I think a lot of people are starting to realize that this tiny little company called Cabral actually owns 100% of a pretty important district that looks like it has world-class potential. And I think more and more people are realizing that this isn't a company that just has a million ounce gold deposit. This has enormous upside and is very exciting. And I think more and more people are realizing that, and the stock has risen as a result. And you're right. I mean, since we last spoke, the stock quadrupled. It's backed off a little bit now, but this is really just to start the drill campaign. We haven't had any drill results of any. We've only had results on the first 3 holes. Well, we're going to be drilling scores and scores of holes here over the next few months. So it's quite exciting. So I think there's a lot of potential for further growth.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't help but notice I mean, you found a number of high-grade veins in there as well, haven't you? Because my impression of Cabral is it's just low grade. It's 1.2, fairly homogenous. That's life, right? So,
I think there's a lot of people.
Did you expect to find high-grade veins, or is that just you got lucky?
Absolutely. Look, the reason this is absolutely we expected to find more high-grade veins. Look, let's just get back to what I said at the initial outset here. This was the largest placer camp in the whole of the Tapper Joss. There was 2 million ounces, Matt, washed here from the streams. And there's probably all the fine gold that the small miners would not have recovered. There's probably another million or two, probably 2 million ounces of fine gold still sitting in the sand here. Now, that's all gold that's been eroded from the surrounding rocks. We already have a large number of high-grade occurrences here. Since I spoke to you, we've announced that we found 7 new high-grade veins, which are all outcropping on surface. Right? So unlike the first target that we've just drilled with the boulders, where we don't know where the vein is, we've just found 7 new high-grade veins. But I just told you, hang on a minute, I just told you we already had 8 other high-grade targets where we've got some very, very good drill intercepts that we've got a little bit of drilling on. And now I'm telling you there's 7 new veins been found in the last couple of months with outcropping mineralization. They're trending northeast, which is a very, very interesting trend because that's brand new since I spoke to you. We know that there are 2 orientations of gold deposits on the property. There are east-west trending gold deposits that are very important. We've got a northwest trending regional feature. Central deposit is northwest trending. And now we're finding a whole series of northeast trending veins. An example of that, the new vein at Jerrymoon North, it's tremendously exciting. We've got 5.3 meters there at 24 grams on surface in a vein that's outcropping. It's 5.3 meters wide, and it's northeast trending. It's northeast trending, and the outcrop that we've got is 150 meters to the south west of some very high-grade blocks, which are running up to 966 grams a ton, and is right next door to the richest stream in the whole property in terms of placer gold. So, look, you don't need a lot of those sorts of veins. If that wasn't enough, we've got 6 new high-grade veins immediately north, 250 meters north of the MG deposit. 6 in parallel. And we think there's going to be a number of additional parallel zones within that. So it just gets more and more exciting.
It does, and people get very excited in the marketplace, retail especially, when you put out high-grade numbers like you have. And you've been quite cute. You put in a few, sample grab numbers in there too, as well as the drilling. So people are seeing these big numbers and getting really, really excited. But tell us a little bit about how you intend to, develop out this district. What's the focus going to be? Because you raised you've got about $4.2 million as of end of July. I noticed, or that was the raise. You may have had a bit more. But how do you deploy that? Because not a lot of capital. Your shares are up. Are you going to go and raise some more money? Is that what we should be looking for?
Well, there are some warrants there are some 20-cent warrants that expire at the end of November that are being exercised. So the current cash position is close to $6 million right now. And I think will grow in the coming weeks prior to the exercise of those warrants. Now, good question. So how are we going to actually demonstrate this? So the current drill program really can be considered as two parts. The first part is we have a reconnaissance drill program going on targeting areas that we've never tested before using our own rig. And that rig will do 200-meter holes, so things like targets like Alonzo, Medusa, Silmar, things that have never been targeted before. Perhaps this new target we've got, Doña Moca, which has got some very high-grade numbers on surface that we found just a couple of weeks ago. So that reconnaissance rig will keep drilling away. Now, the second rig that's about to start drilling will start in an area where we've got much better geological control, where we've already done a little bit of previous drilling, where we can see some of these outcropping high-grade veins, and that will be a systematic program of attempting to demonstrate continuity on some of these other targets, like Mashishi, like the new veins at Mashishi Southwest, like the northeast area of Mashishi, like the Powder Merenda target, like the Central Southeast target, et cetera, where you have drilling or outcropping veins that we have much, much better geological control. And that will be more of the money, frankly, will be focused and directed towards that systematic aspect of the drilling. But at the same time, we're going to keep plugging away on things that really could turn out to be new targets that have had no drilling done, that could be brand new deposits. So I think that combination gives our shareholders exposure to two aspects of the potential of the project. One being the fact there are a number of these targets which have never been drilled before, which are pretty exciting, but we don't have good geological control, and you'd have to consider would be higher risk because there's no previous drilling. And on the second side of it, which is the larger component of that the current drill program, is, determining which of these 8 areas could turn out to be deposits 3, 4, and 5 at Cuiú.
So do you think in this gold environment you're feeling a little bit casual because the real is down against the Canadian dollar, so you're getting more bang for your buck, okay? And it seems easy to go and raise money, and you're up from 25 cents to around 61. I think you were as high as 81 cents. Around 61 cents today. You can raise money more cheaply and more easily now. Is that what you want to do, or do you want to be smarter with the money that you've got? Because you've got too many targets, it seems.
Yeah. Well, you can never have enough targets, but casual's the wrong word. I mean, we're definitely disciplined. Look, we're not suddenly moving into some fancy office. We're subletting space here in an office, which is great, but it's cheap, and so. No, I mean, there sometimes when the market changes, I have seen other companies have a tendency to start spending money a little bit differently. That's not what we're doing. A lot of this is my own money. And so, I'm very careful with my own money. And so I want to make sure that the money that we're spending is directed towards demonstrating the potential of this district. I mean, look, you do these interviews day in, day out with different companies, right? And I did business development for BHP for a number of years. For 5 years, I was just looking at junior companies day in, day out, like you are. And I formed some opinions about why some junior companies were more successful than others. And I've tried to take that knowledge and this isn't my first rodeo in the junior game. I've also had some success, as you know. But that experience, looking at it from the other side of the fence, I think has helped us build this company moving forward.
Well, we'll share the secret. So what's the secret? Because I'm looking at this thing going, you don't have enough money to go after all the things that you want to. And I can recognize there's some lots of shiny new objects that you can get excited about. But what's the thing that's going to have the most impact on the market to allow you to continue to raise cheaper and cheaper money?
Yeah, I think the discovery of additional deposits, particularly if they're high grade, and that's what we're targeting. Right? In terms of secrets, there are no secrets. Okay, the key thing is management. So, not just a management of a bunch of good geologists who can find things. Are they putting their own money in? How many CEOs put their own money in? Large amounts of money. You do this day in, day out. I don't know. You're in a much better position. Very few. Exactly, right? And so that's one of the key things that I look for, and that's one of the key things that your investors should be looking for when they invest. Because once you start putting your own money in, you eat, sleep, and drink, and it 24 hours a day. You never rest.
Yeah, I think the mentality changes for sure. So you've talked in some of the press releases and some of the commentary around finding economic targets versus, they're not the same as commercial targets, though, are they?
No, I mean, trying to find that something is economic is sometimes a different thing. I mean, like I said, this comes back to what we were saying earlier, in that it's where we are. It's very easy to drill fracking holes. I know exactly where to go and drill a good hole, and everybody gets excited. But the smarter investor, of course, is looking at a map saying, well, where is this hole? And if you set up 10 meters away from a hole that you drilled a year ago or 2 years ago and you got great results, how does that add any value to the project? I'd say that's wasting money. You already know there's gold there. Why would you drill right next to it? Why not step out 4 kilometers, take a massive risk? But if you're successful, you found a brand new deposit. That's what I believe we should be doing, and that's what we are going to do. but like I said, that is tempered by the fact that a lot of our money is going into the second component of the program, the second aspect of the drill program, which is following up on those high-grade results, but not stepping out 10 meters. I mean, we want to demonstrate continuity of some of these other things. We know there's continuity, both at Central and MG, which are the two existing deposits, and I'm really confident we're going to find that there's continuity in some of the other things. If you look at our map, and some of these other targets that already had a little bit of drilling, you will find there's continuity on some of these other things. Go look at the map of Mashishi, where we've got 5 or 6 holes. It looks like it's a zone starting to emerge there. Several hundred meters long. We've already drilled down dip on the thing so that we know that high-grade vein has a big, is continuous at depth and has an envelope, and that envelope continues at depth too. So anyway, I don't know if that gives you some sort of...
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, we have looked at that, and all I'm trying to really get out of you is to understand your thought process about how you move this down the road and try and start to attract the sorts of people that you want to be looking at this thing. I don't necessarily mean bring a partner in to can help you do it. You know what you're doing. You've done it before. You've done it with the big boys. You've done it in the juniors. I'm not saying that. But in terms of some of the investors that should be looking at you, because you've got a pile of money in this, I get it. But you're also heavily retail focused. And you're going to need to start doing the things which are going to attract the more stable institutional investors too. I mean, how do you move down that track?
Good question. And we already have started attracting those institutional investors. As you know, we've just less than 40%, I think the register is now institutions that I'm aware of. And there's some household names in this part of the world. Royal Bank of Canada, the Precious Metals Fund, is an investor in our company. We've got Cap, which is a big fund out of Denver. We've got Phoenix, another big gold fund that invests heavily. So there's a bunch of other UK-based, some of the UK institutions actually are investors in our company. We've got a Cisco, which is a group out of Toronto. We've got Dundee, again, Toronto-based group. So we're starting to do that already. I mean, I think we're well on that path. So I think there'll be more of that going forward as people realize that we are sitting on 100% of a whole district. And don't forget, Matt, we're right next door to Eldorado's TZ project, right? Our claims are contiguous with theirs. We're right next door. That project's 2 million ounces. It's fully permitted. They could make a construction decision this afternoon. And in the current gold price environment, you'd have to say that there's a much higher likelihood that that asset that production or construction decision will be made. So this is a region where the majors are definitely interested. I've had a lot of inbound interest that I can't discuss in detail, but there aren't a lot of gold projects like this. But you tell me, again, you do this day in, day out, how many small companies do you know of that control a whole district? I'm sure there are a few, but there won't be many.
There's many that claim to. They use the word district is bandied around like water.
Right. And so let's talk about what a district constitutes. This area, within an area of 10 by 15 kilometers, we have 2 known gold deposits, which are 5 kilometers apart. We have 8 other targets where we've done some drilling with high-grade drill intercepts on 8 different areas. In addition to that, we probably have 15 to 20 other targets where we've not done any drilling, but we know there's a outcropping high-grade veins, and we've just generated 7 new targets on the property. I've lost count of how many targets we have on this property map. So, but your point is well made. How do you demonstrate the potential of a district, and how do you explain to people just how big this thing is and the area is and how big the potential is?
With 2 other, let me give you with 2 other factors. I want you to explain it, but I want you to include these 2 other factors. 1, with less than $6 million, and 2, with a 60 million market cap. So go.
Well, $6 million goes a long way when you're drilling RC holes for $25 a meter. Right? You can get an awful lot of drilling for that. Now, we only have one of those rigs. Unfortunately, I wish I had 5 or 6, but I don't. But we have a second rig coming in. It's the contract rig, a little bit more expensive in terms of the drill cost, but we can get an awful lot done with $6 million. Is it enough? Probably not. We are going to need more money to fully evaluate the size of this district, but in the meantime, there's going to be an awful lot of drill results coming from those 2 rigs. But yeah, I mean, one of the things that is important is going to be important for us is 2 rigs enough? I don't think it is.
Okay, well, here we go. These are the trials and travails of a junior miner, okay? So you are going to have to get more money to get more rigs, or just to kind of keep things going till you can start to realistically talk the language of what you know about this district to be able to get people interested, okay? So you're going to need to raise some money when? In the new year? Q1, Q2?
Probably at the current rate, probably Q2 of next year. We'd like to do some diamond drilling early in the new year, so that would be a third rig. That's funded as part of the current program, but yeah, we will need to raise some money in the new year, by which time there's an awful lot of drill results going to come out between now and Q2, and hopefully some of those will be very, very good.
Meaning what? You're going to chase a bit more of the high grade component, because no one's interested. No one's really interested in the 1.2 gram stuff. People get excited about the high grade. So,
well, like I said to you, we've got a brand new vein, Jeremy North that we announced in September, running 5.3 meters at 24 grams. We've got 6 new veins in the Mashishi Southwest area, all with super high grade on them. One of them's running 4.8 meters at 16 grams on surface. Another one of those high grade veins we drilled for the first time last year. We got 3.4 meters at 36.9 grams.
So do you feel that are you doing a bit of a knee-jerk reacting to the market and chasing the high grade, or are you sticking to your guns?
No, we're not. We've always said that we wanted to test the high grade potential. Go look at my presentation from a year ago or 18 months ago.
Okay. So
no, we're not doing that.
You're clear. We're going to raise some money, probably Q2, continue doing what you're doing, get a better sense of what it is that you've got there. And then what's the end of next year look like? What would good look like to you by the end of next year?
Well, let's just go back. We're not going to raise some money and then we've already raised some money. We're going to drill. We're going to drill an awful lot of holes before the next financing. So there'll be a lot of drill results, lots of potential catalysts on multiple targets, right? We set out to drill 10 different targets. I actually think that we're going to be drilling more than that. And so that's what we're going to do. What's the second part of your question?
Well, really, so what does the end of the year, what does good look like for you at the end of 2021?
At the end of 2021, I would like to have a couple of new discoveries on the project. So rather than be talking about 2 deposits here, I'd like to be talking about 3 or 4, maybe even 5 deposits. And I think, I would like to be able to demonstrate that we've got continuity of gold mineralization in several new areas. And hopefully one of these other things like an Alonzo or a Medusa or a Silmar, one of these targets that had no drilling previously, will prove to be a brand new deposit. So I think it'll be very, very different at the end of 2021 in terms of what we know about the district and how many gold deposits we've got here. There's certainly multiple gold deposits. Again, and I've said this already, let's come back to the fact this was the richest placer camp in the whole region. And it's the richest placer camp for one important reason, and that is that there should be an awful lot more gold in the hard rock here, hard rocks, the granites being eroded. There has to be. And so we've just got to find it. Like I said, Matt, to you, we only know where 10% of that placer gold is coming from. There's 90% of the placer gold, the streams, we don't know yet where the placer gold is coming from. We have some very good indications. We have some excellent targets here. So it's going to be pretty exciting. The challenge I have as the CEO of this company is explaining to our shareholders and the market in general just how many different targets we have. All these targets have different names. It's very easy to get lost in where all these things are. And explaining that you have a whole district can be a bit of a challenge. So that's one of my priorities going forward.
Yeah, it's difficult. When you've got a lot of moving parts, people get confused. The story almost gets harder to tell, for sure. Now, are you conscious of what's happening in the market? Look, we've just had the US election. Obviously, probably wasn't the result people thought. But it's going to have an impact on the markets for sure. Gold's had a bit of a setback recently, down to 1,900 from the highs of 2,000. Do you also, as a CEO, have to have a sense of what the markets look like going forward? Because you want to hit this cycle. You want to make sure it's great. Yeah. There's lots of people, gold bulls, who'll tell you this gold's just going to go up and never stop. But the reality is cycles happen. So for running a junior mining company at your stage, are you conscious of having to move faster Or do you think you're going to be able to pace this right? Or do you think it just doesn't matter because people are always going to want gold?
I mean, look, yes, you are conscious. You have to be conscious of what's happening in the broader market. And we can debate what will happen in the broader market. But the reason it's so important for me to be conscious of that is because financing windows open and close all the time. And so in terms of raising money going forward, you have to be conscious of what's going on and what you think's going on. And obviously, it looks like we're going to have a Democratic president in the next term. There's speculation that will be good for the price of gold because there will be a lot more fiscal stimulus. There will be less uncertainty, however. So we'll see how that plays out. But absolutely, yes, it is something that I have to be aware of going forward. No doubt.
Okay. Look, I appreciate your time today. Great drill results recently. Very exciting. You've got a lot on your hands and a lot more drilling to do. So stay in touch. Let us know how you get on, and we'll pick up the phone. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks, Matt. Really appreciate it. Thanks for your time.